Divorce happens. In fact, it happens to almost 50% of first marriages. So let's talk about it. Welcome to Divorce Happens, a podcast to educate, inspire, support, and yes, make you laugh through divorce and beyond so that you can start fresh on the next phase of your journey. Remember, divorce happens, and then we start fresh.
You get divorced. You get divorced.
Getting divorced?
I'm getting a divorce.
You're getting a divorce.
Because she's getting a divorce.
So what if I get divorced?
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Divorce Happens, the podcast where we support you before, during, and after divorce with education, inspiration, and a little bit of laughter, because as we know, divorce happens and then you start fresh. And we're here with one of our most valued experts who has so much expertise. You have expertise in like so many things, Maureen. I love anytime I talk to you, I feel like I learned something. So without further ado, can you please introduce yourself to our audience?
Yes. Thank you so much, Olivia. It's a pleasure to be here. And I am in awe of what you have created and the resources that you have created for people going through a difficult time. So I'm really glad to be here and share some of my wisdom. My name is Maureen Magauran. I'm an energy healer and a coach, and formerly was working as a holistic psychiatrist for 20 years, and found that through energy work, it was a much more effective way to help people move through change and embrace the life they want to live.
Amazing. So I'm excited to talk to you today because one of the things we talk about a lot here at Fresh Starts is moving on, right? If divorce is a new beginning, but you kind of have to close one chapter before you can start that new beginning. What are the energetics about, that kind of divorce is like a death in a lot of ways? How can we grieve that? How can we process that divorce as a death without feeling that shame at the same time?
Yeah, so important. I mean, I think with anything, it's always great care with any kind of transition that you're having, and also being open to support and to receive in so many different ways. But, one of the things I haven't talked a lot about yet is a lot of work that I do with death. And that one of the things I do is I help people transition after life into the next phase. And again, it's not something that's talked about, but what it's really taught me is that these are lessons for life. And so when we have experiences that are endings, it's a chance for a lot to happen. It's a chance to really let go and let things unravel, to maybe have a look at your life, at the way that you've lived life, the way that you've viewed life, and an opportunity to really open to something much more profound. And in that process, of course, there's a level of, it can be difficult to let go. It can be difficult to move on. But I feel like there's a way to look at it where it's like a sense of, taking a pause and just really feeling this sense of what's happening, what am I feeling, and what am I being asked to see, and what can I let go of? So one of the things that in the death process that I see is the most profound for people is a sense of literally moving away from life. Like we're ingrained in certain views of ourselves, certain ways that people look at us. And the biggest thing that I feel such a relief when I'm working with people in this, and I know they do too, is like letting go of the games, letting go of these image, of this idea of like who we're supposed to be, of what we're brought up with, and just really opening to like, well, who are you really and what do you really want? And creating a space of softness for that, like a sense of like permission to let go, to not have to force yourself to fit into certain things. And so there's this unraveling process that happens with great care. And the beauty of it is kind of holding the outcome at the same time, like holding this sense of like, there is something really beautiful that's there, which is you, actually. It's you in your fullness. And sometimes we just get caught in these patterns, these energetic patterns, and we're like literally energetically tied to these people and to these situations. And so again, great care, recognizing like this is no fault of you, this is not anything that you're doing. But sometimes by seeing and naming these energetic loops or patterns, identities, things that we've really been tied in, and seeing like what else is there? Who am I beyond that? And it's actually a really beautiful experience to witness and for people to go through. And I do think it's important to have support in that because it does feel at times like, the thing that you've been standing on is not there. Like it's something
Mhm.
different. But it's like that message of hope. Like, you know what?
Yeah.
You as a person are this beautiful light and that there's something that's here for you next.
I love everything you just said so much. I have a million questions. So, in my situation, I feel like, and I know this is a common situation, a lot of women are like, well, not that I've like made myself the victim necessarily, but it was like, oh, well, I was treated this way. And so, like, this is why my marriage didn't work. And wasn't really until my therapist lovingly was like, right, but you also were a participant, right, in this too, because I'm codependent and a people pleaser, right? And so I think it is really important to work with somebody like you. There's no shame in admitting that, right? But like you said, we have to find what we're going to let go of in that process. So for me, it was letting go of the people pleasing, right? And the need to perform for everybody all the time.
Yeah.
Um, how do you work with clients to do that as a coach and a healer?
Yeah. Well, first, I want to say again with great tenderness, because these are sort of like patterns that are embedded and a lot of them come from survival. It's sort of like this is what you learn, this is how you're going to be loved, this is what you need to do. And so it can be incredibly liberating to be like, I don't have to do that anymore. Like, that isn't even who I am or what I want. And so, yeah, how I work with it, there is a level of talking, like, there's a level, obviously, of understanding um, the pattern you're caught in or the dynamic with a person. But there's also an energetic aspect that's sort of like held in your body and it's held in your energy. We have an energy body just like we have a physical body. Again, it's not really talked about, it's not taught in medicine, but it's something that you can actually build and structure. Just like you go to the gym and you strengthen your physical muscles, you can strengthen your energetic body. So you can strengthen your energetic root, you can strengthen your connection to spirit. So I essentially help people. I kind of can see energy. I can read people's energy. So I will sort of point to like, oh, there's something here. Let's go into that. And so we go into the body and an experience or something will come forward for them. And it can be something from an experience from earlier in life. It can be something in past lives if you believe in that. And it's a sense of that there's often like a pattern or something that's kind of locked in. And so we want to open that. And the beauty I find of it is very different because I've worked in therapy for many years and sometimes when people go back into a painful situation, it feels like you're reliving it or it's traumatic in itself, whereas this feels really different. It's like there's a sense of sort of your presence, your spiritual presence, and it's like unlocking something for you. So you feel tremendous relief, like when that thing that really isn't you to begin with
Mm,
is separated from and released, and you're like, oh my God, I can breathe. I feel myself again more.
right.
And so that's part of the process of sort of integrating and releasing that
I love that.
pattern.
Mhm.
And then it's like, well, what is from here? What's next? Like, what is your soul whispering? Like, what is it that you really want? What's here for you?
Yeah, because some of these patterns were conditioned into us since childhood, right?
Exactly.
So, what happens if I talk to a lot of women who go through divorce, and I was just even talking to my sister about this the other day about, this idea of like your inner child and, what does your inner child want? And my sister was like, I don't know. I don't know what she wants. Like, so how would you work with a woman who says, I don't even know how to access, like, that inner part of me. Like, I remember in myself, I was like, "What does bring me joy?" I had no idea what brought me joy at this time in my life. Where
Yeah.
do you begin? What are some simple steps for that?
Well, first of all, I think it's totally normal
Mhm.
because, again, the conditioning is so strong. And we as women in particular always focus on everybody else. So you learn to not listen to yourself and you learn to kind of put other people's needs ahead of you, whether it's your children or your partner or somebody else, your dog. There's always
Mhm.
someone who needs something. And so it's totally normal. So sometimes turning that lens inward feels foreign. It feels like it's not even allowed. So you just start with, first of all, permission, like, and I always emphasize gentleness. Like, it's like the way that you would work with a young child, you're not going to be like, figured out what's wrong with you, because we've all had that. We're like, "Ugh," that just creates more like trauma
Mhm.
barriers. So there's a kind of gentleness to that. And then, I mean, so in terms of just in general, how I would encourage them to just set aside some time and maybe, journal or have some prompts around sort of what am I feeling right now? What does that remind me of? And what Because often there's something underneath that wants to come out, but sometimes it's more buried. Sometimes it's, depending on your life situations, whether you're allowed to access or express it. So it's basically telling yourself, like, hey, I'm here. I'm here
Yeah.
for you. And sometimes there's a certain age that might come to mind or that you might feel. And so it's almost like you're inviting them into the room and you're going to,
Mm.
you're parenting them to some extent. You're like, hey, it's safe. I've created this safe space for you. And I want to know what's going on. And sometimes that part of you is just going to be like, nope, and that's okay too. So just like you would with a kid, you just, okay, I'm here.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I just want you to know I'm here. And you're
Love
just
that.
building that, cultivating that relationship.
I love that. That's so powerful. So, all that being said, what does it do for your future and in your other relationships and your relationships with your friends and family and kids to put in the time for this healing process? Because this is not always fun, right? It's sticky, it's gooey. There's a lot of unlearning and unraveling and putting back together, but it's worth it. So, what makes it so worth it, Maureen?
Well, first of all, I just want to challenge that it doesn't actually have to be sticky and gooey and
Okay.
unfun. Like, I feel like there's a way that you can do it and this is what I do in my work, where it's sort of like it's an adventure and you're actually
Mm,
connecting to a part of yourself that can support you immediately. So you lead from that. You're like, okay, this actually can feel good. And I'm not saying that you're not going to grieve or that there aren't going to be difficult spots, but when you have access to this part of you, it's so much more held. And that's also, I bring it like a greater spiritual container where you're alive. This is your life. You're here for a limited time. There's reasons, there's things that can actually happen, and there is support beyond just like right in front of you. So you learn to tap into that. You learn to trust. You learn to open to that. And then there's this tremendous ripple effect. So when you're feeling good, people around you feel that and they feel good. And it's like in kind, it comes back to you.
mm,
So it's such an important investment in yourself because it's going to impact everyone else. And it also, I feel like it positions you to just be a leader in your life and to really go for what you want and what's important. And I have loved watching your journey, Olivia. Like
oh,
you
thank you.
have like just blossomed into this like force for women who
Thank
need
you.
support, like you're this living proof. You're like, I'm going to stand up for this. I'm going to say what I want to say. And if, I saw your post the other day about somebody stealing your
Yeah.
words and you're like, no,
Yeah.
no man is going to come in and take this away from me.
No.
So it's that sense of like you're having this tremendous ripple
I
effect,
love that, the ripple effect. I think that that's such an first of all, thank you. But second of all, I think that when we talk about the healing process, we don't talk enough about that ripple effect of the work that you put in. And I love that you said it's like this joyful work that you're putting into yourself,
Yeah.
but that it really does make an impact on the people around you. And that is so beautiful. Like that's the whole point of humanity, right? So
Right.
I love that when you put that in. And we always say self-care is community care and community care is self-care, right? And so
Yeah.
it is that relationship. Okay, Maureen. So for anybody listening, how do you work with people? Where do you work with people?
Yeah. I just wanted to add one other thing I
Yeah.
think is really important, again, not talked about, is that when you're with someone, when you're in a relationship with someone, you create an energetic tie. So you have this connection. Just like, if you have a child, you have an energetic connection to them, you're raising them, they're looking to you. And this is, normal. All of these ties are normal. And as your child gets older, ultimately they will separate and move on. But in a divorce in particular, sometimes you really need to pay attention to that energetic tie, that cord, because sometimes you're pulling away and they're not. Like you're still sort of connected in ways energetically. So I know a lot of people, they'll hear about that and they're like, oh, I'm going to go out, I'm going to get it cut, cut this energetic cord right away. But the thing that I always encourage women, and I have had such wonderful results with my clients who've gone through divorce, is to take the time to see the intricacies of how you're connected,
Mm,
how you found this person, what drew
mm-hmm.
you to them, what was the dynamic, what wasn't working, because this is like taking back ownership of you, your energy, and your space. And as you do that, it just becomes like all the things that they're pulling on you or that they mean, it doesn't impact you at all. You're just much more clear and free to
Yeah.
be yourself. So I think that's just such a powerful piece energetically that isn't really talked about. And
Mm.
I don't think you can't just clear that through talking, but I wouldn't rush to clear any kind of energetic cords because I would really take the time to go into it for you to receive all of this really valuable ownership of your own energy.
And is that something you do with people?
It is. It is something that I can guide through people through. And yeah. And so in terms of, your question about how I work with people. So, I work with people one to one, and it's a sense of really honing in on exactly where they are, what pieces of their energy are caught, what's calling to let go, to heal. And but ultimately just freeing them in their life to be more of themselves, and that has that ripple effect where their children are also not getting pulled into the divorce pieces, and
Mhm.
there isn't that sense of tension, animosity in general, but more of like, okay, this is where I am, this is what I'm doing, and what's next.
And you work with women in all life transformation phases. I want to make that clear too. So if you're listening to this and you're not going through divorce or you're many years post-divorced, Maureen has many offerings that she can work with you on for all the different stuff you're going through.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, yeah, life, we have so many different endings and transitions, and it's all really just powerful work.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
we need the support, right? We need somebody to help guide us through that. And it's not, something we can do as just a human mortal on our own often. So we need that support. Maureen,
Yeah,
before we let you
1000%.
go, if somebody's listening to this and they are going through a divorce, which they probably are because it's divorce happens, what advice would you give them in terms of words of encouragement to help see them through?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I would, give yourself a lot of credit. Like, it's a courageous, bold thing to step into divorce, whether you've chosen it or not. It's sort of an acknowledgement of like, okay, I am here. And again, this great sensitivity to take care of yourself, to be open to receiving support. And just really acknowledging though that we're all on a journey in life, and sometimes life throws things at us that are not what we wanted. But it's really an opportunity to claim more of yourself while you're here. Rise into this sense of your voice, your power, and the gifts that you're here to give and to receive.
Oh, I love that so much. Thank you so much, Maureen. We're so happy you're part of Fresh Starts and you're so wise and you give back so much. I would highly recommend going and following Maureen. Her profile will be linked in the show notes. She has wonderful tips and advice on her social media all the time, and we just appreciate you so much.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to be here. Thanks.
Divorce Happens is produced by Fresh Starts Registry, the only divorce registry platform for everything you need to begin again, including home items, hype team, and everything in between. Remember, divorce happens, and then we start fresh. We're here to support you before, during, and after divorce. Head to freshstartsregistry.com for more info.